My name is Tim Freeman, and 40 months ago in the prime of my life, I was diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's disease. Today, I'm here to address concerns related to the safe and effective use of both allograft and autograft stem cells as treatment options for many medical conditions. I'm in a unique position, more unique, I'm sure, than any of your presenters for these 2 days. I've seen firsthand the effects of allograft stem cells in matrix with corticocancellous bone and the robust fusions that we get in spine surgery from products such as MTF's Trinity. I am also the recipient of adipose-derived mesenchymal stem cell autograft for the treatment of my Parkinson's disease. I'm asking the FDA to not overregulate the usage of stem cell products and to allow my chosen medical professional to have the ability to treat me as they and I see fit. In May 2013, I was diagnosed. I knew before I even went to the neurologist because I'd seen the advent and subsequent struggles that my mother experienced with Parkinson's. At that time, there was no regenerative medicine and there was no stem cell treatment to consider. There were only the toxic chemical drugs to take, and within a 5-year span, my beautiful, healthy, wonderful mother was gone. Based on that, I made the commitment after my diagnosis that my life was not going to be relegated to infirmity before death. And at the age of 49, with an incredibly supportive wife and family, I am and will continue to seek out the best treatments for me, even if it means going overseas. I've been a first-hand witness to the toxic side effects of the current medications that are available for Parkinson's. I would prefer never to have to take them. The side effects can be as frustrating and debilitating as the disease itself. And how sad is it that the best drug on the market today was approved in 1967? Let that sink in. Let it sink in. We have been treating this awful disease with the same medicine for 50 years. In reality, L-DOPA isn't really a treatment. It's simply a masking agent that over time loses its effectiveness to finally not working at all. I can only believe that the pharmaceutical companies haven't been interested in developing new treatments because our numbers haven't been great enough, or it was considered a disease of old people. There are new faces of PD now, and it's mine, and it's my friend Jimmy in Chicago, who has been treated with intrathecal transplant of allograft stem cells. Before his treatment 6 years ago, Jimmy was on a walker at the age of 33. Post-treatment, Jimmy's run 75 half marathons, 6 full marathons, and countless 10Ks. Now, with the advocacy of the Michael J. Fox Foundation and the dollars and notoriety that they bring, we finally have significant critical research being done. Without Michael, I hate to think where we would be in traditional medicine and research. I investigated and explored many options before I made my decision to move forward with my stem cell treatment. As a result of my treatment, I've had much more energy. Whereas I had been taking naps, long naps, in the middle of the afternoon every day, I now can work full days and have not had an afternoon nap since my first treatment. Every time that I would sit down to watch a game or a show on TV, I was falling asleep. Going to see a movie was worthless because I'd miss half of it from falling asleep. Now I can actually watch a movie and not fall asleep. My focus has been clearer and sharper. I'm interested in what I'm doing, and I'm back to being social again. Overall, I just feel better. My sleep habits have improved greatly, and my bouts of night terrors and acting out dreams have diminished greatly. I still have tremors, but I was never promised that my treatments would cure me. The best part of it, I've had no side effects. As I look at the landscape of stem cell use and the diseases they treat, I see the need for balancing safety and adoption of use. The primary function of the FDA is to ensure the safety of products and technologies that are coming to the marketplace. Placental, umbilical, amnion, and mesenchymal stem cells have proven safe. Therefore, that hurdle has been crossed. Across the world, most notably Europe and Japan, others appear to be moving at light speed and utilizing stem cells to treat diseases such as Parkinson's and MS. I've never been promised a cure by anyone. I've paid for these out of my own wallet, and had they not been effective, I would not have gone back for a second or third treatment. As a result of my experience with the use of different stem cells and their uses, I'm asking the FDA to not put shackles on innovation. I ask that you help the scientific community by accelerating the use of these safe and effective stem cell treatments to all Americans. In conclusion, if you were me, or your wife, or your husband, your son or daughter, would you not go to the ends of the earth to ensure that you had one more day, one more year, one more decade, one more healthy life to spend with them? Regenerative medicine in some form or fashion is going to be the answer in treating and eventually curing these awful, debilitating neurological disorders. Please do not impede this progress. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak on behalf of patients across the country about the draft guidances relating to the regulation of adult stem cell treatment. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Georgiana Crocker. I'm from Austin, Texas, and I just wanted to say I'm a patient here. I'm advocating for myself today and to share my story with you. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak with you directly about the regulation of adult stem cell treatment and how this treatment has given me my health and my life back. I am a rheumatoid arthritis patient who is currently in remission because of stem cell therapy 1.5 years ago. I'm a passionate patient advocate for adipose autologous stem cell therapy, or rather using my own fat tissue, and keeping this therapy available and increasing access for patients like myself who have failed other conventional and non-conventional therapies for their disease. I'm also a professional pharmaceutical rep who's been involved with the marketing and sales of medicine, including biologics, since 1999. I believe in the power of medicine, and I highly respect the FDA for their active role in keeping patients such as myself safe. Why am I here today? I'm here today to request that you, the FDA, continue to allow my stem cell therapy using my own fat cells, that this will be a choice made between me, myself, and my healthcare provider. I'm here to address any concerns you have regarding the safety and efficacy of using my own stem cells by sharing you my firsthand experience of this life-changing therapy. As you know, with nearly all medicines and biologics, there's a percentage of patients who do not meet the primary endpoint, remission. And stem cell therapy is a treatment that simply cannot be ignored as a viable and safe treatment for usually about half of patients who don't meet that endpoint in their studies. A little bit about my story is I was diagnosed in 2006 with RA. I immediately sought out treatment from the best rheumatologists and healthcare providers available in Los Angeles. Regressive pills, steroids, injectable biologics, and infusible biologics were all on board in a short term. They all had some success over the years, and I'm grateful for that. However, over the years they failed. By the end of 2014, my RA medication stopped working, my inflammation markers were continuing to climb, and I was incredibly sick and in pain and suffering despite being compliant with conventional and non-conventional therapies. In January of 2015, I was extremely ill, and out of desperation, I started doing online research for drug studies. However, I was too ill and I had failed too many other drugs to qualify. It was actually on NIH.gov that I learned about stem cell therapy and the promise it held, but unfortunately was not mainstream or approved. After researching ADSC and clinics offering this type of therapy, throughout the world I looked, I chose to have treatment in the United States because I felt that it was safer than traveling abroad, and with the clean safety profile of using my own fat cells, I had little to lose. At this point, my hands and feet were swollen, exhaustion was overwhelming, I could not sleep, I had trouble staying awake, and you can imagine how this affected my quality of life and my family. In February of 2015, I had ADSC therapy with Stemgenics in California. Within 48 hours after my therapy, the pain in my hip was gone. Within a week, I could see my knuckles for the first time in years. And over the next 3 months, my health improved so much, I was able to get off conventional medicine. And to date, I am still pain-free and RA medicine-free a year and a half later. Without stem cell therapy, my life would literally be a different story. I believe I'd be on disability instead of working and contributing and being able to support my family. My health is great, and I actually performed in a half marathon this July. I'm sorry, I get emotional. In the following slides, you will see a short snapshot of some of my labs. Coming from a little bit of a science background, at least in my profession, I wanted to see, is this placebo? Is this snake oil? And indeed, in my case, and in many cases, it is not. I've also submitted my full labs along with my presentation as time constraints require. I can't go through it all. This is a snapshot of my CRP, our C-reactive protein, a marker of inflammation. You'll see throughout 2014, all of a sudden my inflammation started climbing during injectable steroids, oral steroids, and monthly biologic infusions, and many other medicines. 6 weeks pre-therapy, I had my labs done. My CRP was 1.9, normal is 1. I had my CRP done again 1 week post-therapy, and it already dropped to 1.2. And as you can see throughout this slide, at different points over the last year, I've had these labs done, and actually I'm so low that I'm actually off the graph now of less than 0.3. This is just another way to look at those numbers. This is my SED rate, another marker of inflammation. Again, you can see in 2014, my body just went out of whack. It was not being controlled at all. Normal is 20. 6 weeks prior, I was 25. 1 week post-therapy, 22, and it has continued to fall over the last year and a half, well within normal range. It's just another way to live. My white blood cell count was above normal, and it was cut in half in 1 week post-therapy and has remained normal. In conclusion, I ask that you strengthen my rights as a patient and to be treated with my own stem cells, and to accelerate this availability of treatment that is safe and effective, and to please not classify my own cells as a drug. They are my own cells, and I ask that you respectfully treat them that way. Thank you for your time very much.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come before y'all today. My wife is going to speak after me. I want to thank you for allowing, I'm going to talk to you a little bit from a different perspective, as more of a caregiver. My wife has primary progressive MS, and we've been dealing with it for quite a while. I have 2 great children, but these diseases that we're hearing about today affect much more than just the victim themselves. It affects the family members, it affects our abilities. Now, we have gone through all the standard treatments that we can for primary progressive MS, and there's very limited. We've gotten on lots of medications. All these medications had toxic effects on my wife, and from going from one drug to a secondary drug to a third to a fourth to a fifth, each has some type of different issue that comes up a little bit later. So the standard protocol by which we were using to try to fight her MS was just not working for us. So after we had tried all that, we started researching out and seeing what could we do to benefit, my wife and her ability to interact with us on a daily basis. We were lucky enough to come across a company out west that dealt with stem cells. And it has been the only thing that has helped mitigate some of the conditions with my wife's MS. Now, one of her major issues, we're from the South, we live in Arkansas, heat and humidity, they affect her on a daily basis. The brain fog that they get with it when they can't really just seem to be with it during the day, just the energy levels. We went out to STEMgenics, and when we approached them and discussed my wife's issues, we were made acutely aware that we know that there's no cure for what she has, and I understand that. But if I can mitigate some of the symptoms that she has, she is much more productive. She is more engaged on a daily basis with us and the family. And when we talked to them, they told us, hey, let's go ahead and try it. When we went there, engaged in the stem cell treatments with my wife's own stem cells, the response was immediate. When we got home, flew back to Arkansas, my wife, who is confined to a wheelchair, was able to get up and walk down our hallway. But that's a big deal for us and for the kids. My wife is the head of we sponsor our Little Rock Lacrosse Club.
Excuse me a second. Could whoever is having that dinging, can you turn it off so we can listen to the speaker?
It's not me. It's okay. Okay. I can talk over it. I'm loud. So, my wife is the director of our Little Rock Lacrosse. So we are playing lacrosse in the heat, and we're playing lacrosse in the humidity. That's all we have down south. So anyway, as soon as we took the stem cell therapy, it was amazing the turnaround that happened with her. The ability to stand up and cook, the ability to get out of bed, the ability to go to the bathroom, to not have to have someone walk her to the bathroom and help her go to the bathroom. It just frees up. We have a new normal because of MS, and that's what we have to live with, and we understand that. But to mitigate some of these symptoms that are out there, this is the only thing that works for us. And so when it works for her, it also works for me, it works for our kids, it works for my family, my parents, her parents, because it just doesn't affect one individual, it affects multi-individuals. So I know there's a lot of stuff going on with regards to what you're looking at, but I don't think we need to stop what's working for a patient utilizing their own stem cells. Let them continue on. We can look at this later down the line. This works for us. And I want to thank you all for the ability to come and talk to you today from more of a caregiver's point of view. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, but I would like to pass on to my wife.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Kristen Kristen Mark. I'm a 51-year-old mom and a wife. When I was diagnosed in 2007 with primary progressive multiple sclerosis, our kids were 3 and 5 years old. My disease, because it is in the 5% of multiple sclerosis, normal 95% have primary or relapsing remitting. You have a chance for the body to go into exacerbations, for the body to heal itself. With primary progressive, we are the 5% that progress very rapidly at a downhill slide, and there are no medications currently on the market for primary progressive to slow the progression of this disease. The only answers my doctor had for me when we were diagnosed, and I say we because, as Brian said, it affects a family. It doesn't just affect me as an individual. First thing he asked was if we had any long-term care insurance, to prepare for the worst, to enjoy my time with my kids now, that in 3 years, pretty much I would be confined to a wheelchair, and to make those arrangements. The only thing he could do for me palliatively, because of the extreme amount of pain I was in, the difficulty I had walking, the brain fog, the sleep deprivation, just simply because you could not hold your head up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon if you tried. It didn't matter how many Red Bulls, soda, or whatever you had. Forget it. It wasn't happening. The fatigue was debilitating. I would tell my friends it's about like if you were unlucky enough to get the flu, your worst day of the flu, how you felt, that's how I felt every day. I was to the point where I couldn't take care of our kids. It's horrifying. As a mother, it is absolutely a nightmare. The doctors basically tried any type of anti-inflammatory, massive quantities of steroids, other approaches that didn't help. So in 2010, I detoxed off everything. I said, I can't live like this. I was a fighter. I worked for numerous charities. I ran my own business. And I couldn't do those things anymore, and I wasn't about to give up. So we detoxed. We looked at nutrition. I read every study there was on MS, treatment, and stem cells. I was willing to go out of the country. My husband wasn't. He didn't trust the medical care. He trusted the medical care here. Thank goodness we found a stem cell company on the West Coast that was able to take on our case. They, exactly like Brian said, they never said there would be a cure. Our only hope that it would alleviate symptoms, and I was fine with that. We came back within 24 hours. I walked off the plane. I walked into my kids on my feet. I walked down the hall. Within 3 weeks, I was fixing their dinner. I was helping with homework. I could do all those things. Within 3 months, I was back to driving them to school every day and picking them up at school. We were about to have what was a normal family life. Now, granted, I wasn't running around like a lot of people would be. I was going at my own pace, and that was fine. I'm fine to go with my own pace now. The only reason I'm in a transport chair today is simply because I had a kidney stone. I'm out of the hospital 10 days. I had to have surgery, and my doctor advised, if you're going to make this trip, you better make it as easy as possible, and you don't need to throw your MS back into a flare. And the kidney stone was because of an FDA-approved medication that was to help with my speed of walking, Empira. And we found that that was actually what caused my kidney stone and caused 10 days in the hospital. It may work for some people. It doesn't work for me. My stem cells work for me. I have had 2 stem cell treatments in 2010 and 2013. I want to read from you my MRI report. This is 3 months after I had stem cells. And some people can say, it's placebo effect. When you're on your feet, you're cooking dinner, and you haven't done that in a year, it's not a placebo effect. This is not a placebo effect. To my neurologist, this was proof that something was going on in my body that was a good thing. Not that I was healed, but it was a good thing. To read through the basics, distribution areas of demyelization is grossly stable as compared to the 2 prior studies. There are no definitive new active or enhancing MS plaques. The plaques or the demyelinization in my brain, my spinal cord, my C2, C3, and T6, T7. I have no active lesions. All the activity in my brain as far as demyelization is gone. As you can see where it says it's grossly stable. I'll take that any day. I will take being on my feet standing in front of you. I'm happy to be where I'm at. If you give me the capability and the power to use my own stem cells to regenerate and help my body heal, the body has a natural ability to heal itself.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to wrap it up. I know the timer wasn't working.
Hello, my name's Karl Castle. I'd like to start off by thanking the Food and Drug Administration for giving me this opportunity to speak about the draft guidances in relation to the regulation of adult stem cell treatment. I was diagnosed with relapsing, remitting, multiple sclerosis back in 1997. Despite taking the drugs that were recommended from my neurologist, my condition spiraled downhill. Some of my symptoms to start with were numbness in the feet, shaky hands, loss of vision periodically, had pressure headaches, dizziness, and a loss of balance. To fast forward to 2013, my symptoms increased. The numbness spread from my feet throughout my legs, causing me to be in this chair. The shakiness just went from my hands to my head. I couldn't sit in a chair like I'm sitting now. Thought I'd fall out. I couldn't bathe myself. Couldn't dress myself. I couldn't feed myself. No, I got down to 120 pounds. Searching the web, we found Stemgenics. They offered the stem cell therapy, treatment, whatever you wish to call it. Had it done. Very next day, on the airplane, on the ride home, I could feel my feet. My helper, Brittany Weller here, helped me get my shoes off so I would be more comfortable. In doing so, I felt sensation in my feet. They tickled. I wonder what further results I'd see. Upon arriving at home, I've seen many and many other improvements. Started to be able to feed myself and bathe myself. I'm not saying I could run a marathon, but I am able to stand up. I'm not doing it today because it's been a long couple of days. Very emotional, very hard on me, and it affects me. Stress is a big issue with MS, as well as heat. Now, with everything that the stem cells have done for me, over time they plateaued, they leveled. So I did it again. I've seen further and further improvements. After these improvements, I decided to do it once more. And I continued to see more improvements. So I did a third time. It was back in February of this year. And I'm still seeing improvements. Just last week, I was able to tie my shoe. And I wasn't able to do that in many of years, probably 5 or 6 years. And to me, it's quite an accomplishment. Now, to address the concerns that you have about the risk, side effects, I already told you the positive results. As far as the risk goes, it's no greater than some of the drugs that you had already approved for me to take. And they cause rare vein disease, which ultimately leads to death. And I tried it. I tried it for a year. I'm not going to mention what drug it was. I'm sure you already know. So the stem cells being that, the only risk that there is for the stem cells, it's not the stem cells itself, it's the procedure on getting them. And Stemgenics, very clean. They seem to be very knowledgeable, have this, top staff for the job. So far as the side effects go, I have not seen anything negative. I managed to gain 30 pounds since then. My hair is growing back, and I can speak. I didn't mention it before, but my speech was so slurred that you couldn't even understand me at all. With all that being said, the stem cells are a universal drug for many illnesses, and I speak on the behalf of anybody that has an illness that is having trouble getting treatment for it. I believe that we're in the beginning stages of stem cell to be used on a regular basis to be in competition with the medical field of other countries as well as ourselves. I don't think we should be hindered. If I cut my finger off and you sew it back on, it's still my finger. It's not a drug. I still want it. Yeah, it is funny. It is funny.
We really appreciate your...
People want to keep it, and I owe this all to my friend. They looked this up on the internet and brought me to Stemgenics. His name is John Bailey.
Okay.
And with that, thank you again for letting me speak.
Thank you. Eliza Tyler.
Good afternoon. You've heard a lot, I'm sure. I'd like to thank the panel for the opportunity to speak today, and I come asking you. My name's Eliza Tyler, and I have cohabitated with type 1 diabetes since I was 9 years old. It's an autoimmune disease for which I've lived 44 of 53 years with. I come to you today to voice my concerns and hopes regarding safety and regulation of adult stem cells as a method of treatment for many diseases and conditions for which pharmaceutical means have run their course or do more harm. These adult cells, which reside in my very own body, have the ability to heal and improve my quality of life with little to no side effects. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. Nothing I did at the age of 9 could have caused it or prevented it. Type 1 in depth is something I can't explain in 5 minutes. The list of complications and rising death rates associated with type 1 are long, and I'm currently dealing with several complications. I am a firm believer in the science and medicine, which includes stem cells, and I would encourage the FDA to allow my medical providers to offer such treatments to treat, maintain, and enhance one's quality of life. My providers have seen marked improvement in my disease status and have not deterred me from undergoing treatment again. Stem cells have been used for decades in the United States and around the world with success. Having learned from clinical trial rejection that I would be difficult to match as a donor, with a donor, and no doubt run a higher risk of rejection for the islet cell transplant, my options were limited. I began a focus-driven search on stem cell options, my prognosis looking dim and continued deterioration, pain, and suffering. I chose to undergo adipose-derived adult stem cell treatment with Stemgenics out of California. My first treatment in 2010 was conducted outside the United States, and I knew this was not a cure. I was never promised a cure. However, I was willing to take the risk, having followed research for many years. My issues included hyperglycemic unawareness, a dangerous inability to sense an oncoming low blood sugar, which can lead to coma and death. Pain associated with peripheral neuropathy and arthritis, retinopathy, and falling vision. We breathe. Gastroparesis, a paralysis of the gut, which includes malabsorption issues and glucose levels which are near impossible. I also suffer with psoriatic arthritis and have suffered a traumatic brain injury. All of these issues for which I was concerned showed almost immediate improvements. My first low blood sugar in over 20 years was felt coming on within 24 hours of my first treatment. Others continued to improve over the months afterward. My response to these treatments was neither placebo effect nor anecdotal. My lab work done with ongoing medical lab work results were on the thing here, with medical supervision has shown stability and improvement with my A1C and overall glucose levels. We have the knowledge, the passionate scientists and doctors on many levels looking at many disease processes. Let us allow them to move forward in the research and application of adult stem cells. Please let us not classify my cells that reside in my body as a drug, for they've brought me complete quality of life that I would not have otherwise. I've been listening as a patient for 40 years about the babble of a cure on the horizon for type 1. In all reality, we're being held back from something that could already be making our lives easier with no side effects, cost-effective, and with no chance of rejection. If we continue to withhold adult stem cells from the U.S. citizens who can benefit from them, then more medical tourism to places of unknown or poorly overseen practices will be our only option. I understand and respect the FDA's job of balancing a patient's safety with alternative treatments. Please accelerate the availability, and I see the lady off to my left. I thank you again for the opportunity to speak before you today.
Good afternoon. To introduce myself, my name is Joan Woodward. I'm 59 years old and I have primary progressive multiple sclerosis. To date, there are no cures, no medicines which prolong the inevitable progression of disability, which is characteristic of this form of MS. My definitive journey began on May 6, 2014, after limping for over a dozen years and being treated for a possible hip replacement. I researched and found a new orthopedic surgeon that referred me to Emory Neurology in Atlanta. I had a single lesion which appeared on my brainstem MRI. It took until September 2nd, 2014 for a second lesion to appear. I am in excellent health, have never had a so-called attack. Still the dreaded words. You have primary progressive multiple sclerosis. Since then, I've spent at least an hour a day researching this disease, not for 1 minute accepting the dreadful diagnosis of no relief in sight. I have joined a clinical trial for a new drug and have exhausted nearly all avenues. Multiple MRIs have shown my disease to be progressing. The clinical trial drug is a double-blind, so I deducted that either I was receiving the placebo or the drug was not helping my symptoms. Therefore, earlier this year, my family and I elected for me to receive mesenchymal stem cells harvested from my own adipose tissue. Literally, my fat may save me. After carefully researching several clinics, protocols, and doctors, I chose a facility. My cells, my blood, my decision, and my father's money. How could this possibly be considered a new investigational drug? Every individual I spoke to that received this therapy was well informed and had completed the same amount of research. At no point have I been promised results or a cure. Already I've stopped taking an extremely expensive drug for fatigue. That in itself is a huge plus. Prior to stem cell treatment, I was becoming increasingly fatigued to the point of not being able to fathom exercise, let alone work for a full day in the comfort of my home. Occasionally, I suffered through difficult bouts of vertigo, which my doctor attributed to MS. Currently, I self-administer interferon injections in an effort to strengthen my blood-brain barrier. I've been taking interferon since October of 2014. Despite the interferon in the clinical trial drug, I could tell the disease was progressing. Now, 7 months after treatment with my own stem cells, I'm walking a mile a day with walking sticks for balance. My restless leg syndrome has been minimized, and I feel the best I've felt in years. I know I'm not cured, but I'm hopeful that this improvement in my general health will prolong the disease progression until a cure is discovered. I wish to be fortunate enough to repeat my stem cell procedure should my disability progress. Curiously, 25 years ago, I was diagnosed with a condition which resulted in multiple miscarriages, actually 4 in a row. I had a condition called pregnancy immune syndrome. My body did not recognize my husband's cells and therefore rejected my pregnancies as foreign bodies. I qualified for a clinical trial of a process called lymphocyte immune therapy. Today, I have a 25-year-old daughter and a 23-year-old son, thanks to the efforts of science and the medical community. January 30th, 2002, the FDA closed the clinics offering LIT. They said the use of blood cells qualified as an investigational new drug. As a result, this procedure is no longer offered in the United States, and young women must leave our country in order to receive this simple injection of your husband's blood cells. The Food and Drug Administration recently issued draft guidelines clarifying that the stem cells used in most clinics are drugs and require a rigorous approval process before they can be used in patients. I sincerely hope and pray that this does not result in others not having the opportunities that I've had. The FDA has its hands full with regulating new investigational drugs. Their efforts are greatly appreciated by the general public. Let's keep their efforts where they belong, studying drugs, not the cells that God gave us.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak in front of this committee. My name is Newton Vaughn, and I reside at Lakewood, Colorado. I'm asking the FDA to represent myself and others in the approval of stem cell research and surgery. Approval by the FDA may make this treatment more affordable to others. I was able to pay for this out of my own pocket, and it's a possibility it could be paid by insurance if it is approved. Approximately 20 years ago, I asked my doctor about the shaking in my right hand. He said he didn't want to alarm me, but it could be the beginnings of Parkinson's disease. 5 to 6 years ago, I noticed the shaking getting worse, and I was referred to a neurologist who prescribed 2 medications. A friend of my sister had stem cell treatment with some improvement for Parkinson's. I researched the stem cell surgery, and Stemgenics was recommended by this friend. I decided to go ahead with the procedure. On June 5th, 2015, I received stem cell surgery for Parkinson's disease. This treatment was provided by Stemgenics of La Jolla, California. After the surgery, I was recommended that I spend an hour and a half to 2 hours daily for 45 days in a hyperbaric chamber. I purchased my own chamber, and in August of 2015, I took delivery, and I have been using it since. It was also recommended that I continue to take the medication and vitamins that I was previously prescribed. Since that time, I've noticed some improvement in my ability to control the shakes in my right hand. since January of 2016, I was able to thread a needle and sew on some buttons, something I could not do before that treatment. I also have been able to reach above my head and put tools on a pegboard hooks in my shop. There are times I am able to control the shakes. In August of 2016, I was able to trim tall hedges and paint window frames on my house. For almost a year, I've been able to make lamps out of wood turned on my lathe, and I have pictures of the lamps. Since March, I have been taking dance lessons. August this year, I was able to prepare and freeze peaches. I made a peach pie, and I've been playing golf. I live alone, and without the treatment, I'm not sure that would be possible. I'm here. There are so many incurable diseases for which treatment options are very limited, often treated with drugs with known and unknown serious side effects. With the treatment, which means using my own stem cells, there is little or no risk of rejection. American citizens should not have to go out of the country to receive stem cell treatment. Too often in this country we operate under a thing called fear, false evidence appearing real. Where would I be without treatment? Probably would not be here today to speak to you, and I would not have the ability to live alone. In closing, I am asking the FDA to accelerate the availability of safe and effective stem cell treatment to Americans in need. And I'm asking the FDA to allow my chosen medical professional to have the ability to offer stem cell treatment to myself and others. Again, I thank you for this opportunity to speak.
My name is Roxana DArtagnan, and I have MS. First of all, I'd like to thank the FDA for the opportunity to speak about the draft guidances relating to the regulation of stem cells. I'm 55 years old, and no MS drug has worked for me. I was diagnosed in 2002, and for 2 years I was on nothing, and I was perfectly fine. At the insistence of my neurologist, I went on Avonex, and a year later, my legs started acting up, and there was extreme weakness, and I could barely walk. And I changed neurologists, and the new one told me that I was allergic to all interferons. I tried Tysabri for 6 months, and after 6 months I showed antibodies to Tysabri as well, so I can't do that either. So basically I'm allergic to most MS drugs, and I've been on nothing for the past, I would say, 6-7 years. I did some research online because my legs were getting weaker and weaker. After coming up with this center in Germany, my husband and I traveled to Germany for stem cell treatment, and the results were amazing. My leg immediately improved. My foot drop was gone. The tremors in my body were gone, and most of my symptoms just disappeared. When I came back, a few years passed by, and I did more research because I could not take any drugs. And I found this place in California for stem cell. So I decided to go there in 2013. They used my adipose stem cells. So I did it, and the results were again amazing. I've done stem cell 5 times altogether. So I would consider myself among the lucky few. The results are just simply no side effects, safe, and very, very good. I would recommend stem cell for anyone who has MS and cannot tolerate drugs, because this one has no side effects whatsoever. It's your own stem cells. I recently had 2 bouts of pneumonia in the past 3 years. I recovered extremely well, literally after 1 week. And I think it's because of the stem cell. Because my body just rebounds back so fast from anything. I had a surgery. There's a nerve in the base of my skull that they had to work on, and I did the surgery, and everything was fine after 1 week. So I contribute all these improvements to the stem cells that I've been doing over the past few years. And I ask the FDA to please consider approving one's own stem cells for treatment of diseases like MS, Parkinson's, rheumatoid arthritis, all these things. And that's it. Thank you very much.